Ayo, it's Anton Mac, back with another combat tutorial.
Why?
I know, the last one sucked, but this one will be better. Plus, Andy told me I had to do it.
And he is a fool.
Anyways, if you're ready to learn how to be the best Aloy you can be, then let's get started with basics. I'll blitz through the basic controls, so get ready. Here we go. X is for jump, square is for crouch, run and square is for slide, circle is for roll and evade, R1 is for light attack, which will help in removing components from enemies. R2 is heavy attack, which can possibly knock down enemies. L2 is aiming, and pressing R2 while aiming shoots with whatever weapon you have. Pressing left or right on the D-pad will scroll through the items available. Pressing down on the D-pad will use the selected item. There are also two other selections besides potions and traps in your item bar. One is whistle, which will attract enemies to wherever you are, so you can either sneak away from them or jump them from a bush. The other is rocks. Like every other game, you can throw a rock to distract your enemies. Just hold down on the D-pad, select wherever you want to throw it, and let go of the button. Then, you can either sneak away from your enemies, or let your bloodlust take over. Last but surely not least is focus. Pressing right click will scan your enemies, highlighting weak points and components with a yellowish glow, showing patrol routes, tagging enemies, and displaying elemental weaknesses. Now that we got that over with, let's get to the fun stuff. Let's begin with elements. There are many different types of elements in the game. Starting off is Tear. Tear appears on most weapons, which have a chance of removing armor and components from those mechanical beasts. Fire does damage over time, but another thing it does is for certain enemies it forces them to reveal hidden weak points. Corruption will make a target attack anyone, friend or foe, for a certain period. Shock will stun enemies, giving you time to set up traps or do DPS. And lastly, Freeze, which doesn't stop enemies in their tracks, but actually allows you to do more than normal damage with other weapons. Each of these examples will be seen as we go through the next section, which is weapons! You have a plethora of weapons to choose from, but lucky for you, I'll be going over each of the weapon types, both its basic form and final form, so you can make an informed decision about how you will fight. Starting off, we'll go over bows. There are three types of bows in the game. The first is the Hunter Bow, which is the first weapon you'll get in the game. Unfortunately, I actually sold the basic version, so we'll cover the upgraded version and its final form. Initially, it comes with normal arrows. Just aim and shoot. The upgraded version comes with fire arrows. Just beware that you may have to shoot a bunch of arrows in order to get the effect of the element. The shadow version of the weapon comes with normal arrows, fire arrows, and a third ammo called hardpoint arrows, which does more damage than normal arrows and have high tear on impact. Next up is the Sharp Shot Bow. This is best used from farther engagements, meaning it'll take longer to ready shots, but it does more damage than the Hunter Bow. The basic version starts off with precision arrows, which do high impact damage and medium tear. The Shadow version comes with two other types of ammo. The first being Tear Blast arrows, which deal no damage, but will always rip off components shortly after the impact. That is, unless you miss, of course. The second is Harvest arrows, which does low damage, but any parts it removes will contain additional resources. Oh yeah, 9 sparkers. Last of the bows is the War Bow. The War Bow does low damage, but focuses on inflicting elements. The basic bow comes with shock arrows, and as you guessed it, it'll inflict shock after a few shots, giving you the opportunity to beat him like he's in the back room of a casino. The Shadow version of the bow comes with two other types of ammo, the first being Corruption. When planned out properly, Corruption can give you an upper hand in defeating groups of enemies. Just beware of alpha males because of their insatiable lust to assert dominance. The last ammo on the warbow is freeze, and as mentioned before, freeze will amplify any damage received by the enemy. Until you realize you didn't actually equip anything to do damage. But when you do, you'll do some great damage. And it also helps when you're as good of a shot as I am. The next type of weapons are slings. There are two types of slings, the first being just called a sling, which lobs bombs and leaves an elemental area of effect. The basic version comes with freeze bombs, leaving a pool of freeze element affecting multiple enemies. Fun fact, melee damage does get amplified too, allowing you to get up close and personal. Until you get that taste of blood and go on a killing spree. Then realize that maybe you're not that good of a person. So you try to make amends for your sins. Only to realize you're immortal. Anyways, the final version of the weapon comes with shock bombs. And fire bombs, allowing you to live out your dreams of being a pyromaniac. The second type of sling is the blast sling, which is like a normal sling but focused on damage. The basic form comes with blast bombs that deal high explosive damage, good for fighting large enemies or groups of enemies. The shadow version also comes with proximity bombs that can be placed wherever and will detonate when an enemy gets close. A good tactic is to place these on patrol routes to catch enemies off guard, like this sawtooth for example. And just to piss it off some more, we'll use the third blast sling ammo called Sticky Bomb, which will stick to surfaces and explode after 5 seconds. And it was at this moment that Aloy knew she fucked up. How will she get out of this one? Now for one of my favorite weapons, the Rope Caster. The Rope Caster will tie down machines, immobilizing them for some time. All you have to do is aim and pull the trigger. Some enemies require more shots than others to be tied down, but beware, doing any damage will shorten the amount of time they are immobilized. The Shadow version uses an upgraded version of the ammo, allowing you to use less ammo, especially when it comes to large foes. When enemies are tied down, you can do damage to them, set up traps, make more ammo, or my personal favorite, override enemies to fight for you. Now for something a little more personal, the Rattler, which is a close range gun that fires multiple shots. Just aim and shoot. This is a gun for situations when accuracy isn't as important as landing multiple hits. The Shadow version of the weapon comes with shock ammo. And freeze ammo. Next up is the Tripcaster, which is super fun to use. The basic version comes with shock wire. To use it, you have to fire your first shot where you want the start of the wire to be, then fire the second shot to create a line. Anything that passes through that wire will set off the trap. The Shadow version of the weapon comes with two other types of ammo, blast and fire wire. The blast wire does very high explosive damage to anything that sets off the trap. The fire wire will inflict damage over time to anything nearby. Lastly, we got traps. Traps are simple to use. Select what trap you want using left or right on the D-pad, then press down on the D-pad to place it wherever you're standing. There are 3 types of traps. First is Shock Trap. Place it like an idiot as I did, and wait until the even dumber enemy inches closer to its doom. Like the proximity bombs, when an enemy is close, it'll set off the trap. Next is the Detonating Blast Trap, which is triggered when it takes damage from either Aloy or an enemy. And lastly, the Blast Trap, which is proximity based, so drop it, run like a little girl, and hope that something walks right into it. To finish off, I'll go over my recommended starting skills. All of these skills you've seen throughout the video. First is Silent Strike. It is a must as it'll help you clear out smaller enemies quickly. Second is Concentration. Sometimes getting the perfect shot in the middle of a hectic battle is tough. Concentration gives you the opportunity to get precise. Lastly, Critical Hit. You'll find that often you'll be able to knock down enemies, whether it be from heavy attacks or doing massive damage with your weapons. Critical hits get you quicker kills. And that's my combat tutorial for Horizon Zero Dawn. If there's any other content you want from us, leave a comment. Otherwise, I'm Anton Mack with VGS.